Hey folks, Mike Johnson here. If it's got wheels and an engine, you're in the right place. On this channel, we dive into car repairs, maintenance tips, and everything you need to keep your ride running smooth. If you're into cars and want to keep learning, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. All right, enough talking. Let's get into it.
Repairing paintwork and bodywork scratches. Touching up small nicks and scratches is well within the skill level of most do-it-yourself car enthusiasts. Some nicks can be quickly repaired with a little touch-up paint, while others will require more time, effort, and skill. It's important to know what you should and shouldn't tackle based on your knowledge of paint, tools, wet sanding and finishing. If you know your car's factory paint code, you can purchase exact color touch-up paint from Automotive Touch-Up. If you don't know the factory paint code, look in your owner's manual for the location of the code, or ask your dealer. Use an artist's brush, number 2 is ideal, or a plastic toothpick to apply the touch-up paint. You can also use a touch-up pen. They take a few minutes of practice, but work well. The 3M Scratch and Scuff Removal Kit has everything you need if the repair doesn't need color touch-up. Always test touch-up paint for color match in an inconspicuous area. Do not attempt to touch up if the temperature is below 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Chip and scratch paint touch-up supplies. Here's what you'll need to properly repair nicks and scratches: a touch-up primer, only required. If you've exposed metal, color-matched touch-up paint, touch-up varnish, solvent preparation, Prepsol, assorted 3201500 grit wet sandpaper, sanding pen, or other spot preparation tool, sanding block. A rectangular rubber eraser makes a good sanding block for small touch-ups, fine-cut rubbing compound, such as Migia's Ultimate Rubbing Compound, artist's brush, number 2, and round toothpicks, plastic, lint. Free rags, painter's masking tape, easy release type. This is a typical paint chip that has stripped paint down to the primer coat. With care, it can be repaired. Paint chip preparation process. Before applying primer or touch-up paint, prepare the chip or scratch area. Although the paint may adhere for some time to a chip or scratch with rust, dirt, or oil, the repair will eventually fail. The preparation process really begins the day before the paint chips and scratches are to be repaired. The afternoon before you start your chip repairs, wash your car with Dawn dishwashing detergent to remove all wax and silicone from your paint. Dry your car thoroughly and put it away overnight. There are several good ways to apply touch-up paint. You can use a plastic toothpick, an artist's brush, or a pin brush, as shown here. Note that the chip area has been pre-sanded with 1500 wet and dry sandpaper. This is not a varnish finish. The easy way is to dip just the tip, 2 to 3 mm, of a plastic toothpick into the primer and use capillary action to pull it out of the toothpick into the paint chip. If you get a drop on the toothpick, I wipe it off. Then touch the end of the toothpick to the center of the chip and let the paint drip from the toothpick into the chip. You'll be amazed at how the capillary action works. If you prefer, you can use a No. 2 artist's brush. Don't let the primer run over the sides of the chip. Important note, since this article was originally written, the industry has perfected paint touch-up pens. High-quality paint touch-up pens work like a toothpick, transferring paint by capillary action. More on paint touch-up pens. Touch-up pens are easy to control and reasonably accurate. The secret is to circulate the flux on a hard surface, away from your vehicle. Keep the tip clean by wiping it frequently with a lint-free cloth. After applying the primer, allow it to dry for an hour or more. Don't touch the chips with your hands, as oils from your skin will prevent the color layer from adhering properly. Next, carefully mix your color-matched paint. As with the primer, use a clean toothpick or No. 2 artist's brush, or touch-up pen, to apply the color coat. For best results, apply 2 applications of color, leaving about half the depth of the chip to be filled with the clear coat. In other words, it should go forward. The color retouching part of the process is completely finished when you've applied enough color coat to mask the primer. This image shows a varnish touch-up pen used to fill a small surface scratch. After drying, the retouch will be sanded and polished for a perfect repair. A close-up of a scratch after it has been repaired with touch-up paint. The touch-up creates a raised surface. To complete the repair, the touch-up paint must be leveled. I'll use 1500 grit sandpaper to level the repair. If you're new to wet sanding, use 2000 or 2500 grit paper. The final step is to apply one or more coats of clear. The aim of this application is to apply enough clear to overflow the chip area, for example, with a blob, so that the repair area can be leveled and buffed to blend the repair. You might wonder whether it's really necessary to apply clear on paint chip and scratch repairs. The answer is yes. In particular, if your paint is a metallic finish, the touch-up won't match if the clear top coat isn't applied. Level and amp, polish touch-up paint. This photo shows the repair area after a few passes with wet and dry 1500 grit sandpaper. The scratch retouch is almost level, and you can clearly see the surface scratches, micro-marring, I put into the paint surface. Until you level the paint retouch on the same plane as the original paint, all you'll have is an ugly stain. Leveling the paint repair is easily done using a small sanding block and wet and dry sandpaper from 1500 to 2000 jets. Tip: use a 1 inch by 2 inch rubber eraser as a sanding block. This will enable you to level touch-up repairs with surgical precision. Don't forget to soak your sandpaper for at least 20 to 30 minutes before use, as indicated in the instructions. To level your paint chips, start by wetting the area to be sanded. Next, use your sanding block and sandpaper to mill the top of the chip repair. Sand in a straight line, the length of the car, never in a circle. Keep the area you're sanding well lubricated with water. Check your work often by drying and visually inspecting. As you can see, the repair and paint finish turned out very nicely. There are no visible surface marks in the paint and the touch-up cannot be detected. Wet sanding will dull the paint. Don't worry, you'll use a fine-cut compound to remove sanding scratches and restore a glossy finish. When the surface looks level, dry it with a clean towel and inspect with your fingers. If you can feel a high spot, it needs more work. The final step is to polish the repair with a good fine-cutting compound. Apply the compound to a clean foam applicator pad or polishing cloth and rub the repair area in a short back and forth motion, not in circles, then buff with a clean microfiber towel. The defect is gone. The job is much quicker if you use a dual-action car polisher. Repair those deep scratches. If someone has slammed your car or it has been damaged over a large area, you might be able to repair the damage yourself. The determining factor is the depth of the scratches. If you can clearly see that the scratches are penetrating the color coat or primer, the best course of action is your local paint and body shop. This is a typical key scratch on a clearcoat finish that can be repaired at home. A good way to understand if you can repair scratches on your car is to use 2 sheets of printer laser paper. Put the paper on the body of your car next to the scratch. Next, run your fingernail through the paper over the surface of the paint for a while to feel the thickness. Now run your nail along the edge of the paint. If the paint scratch is significantly deeper than the thickness of the 2 sheets of paper, a full repair will be difficult. If it's not as deep, you can make the repair. If the scratch in your varnish feels less than a single sheet of paper, your nail won't catch on the scratch. If it's shallow, then you can make the repair by wet sanding and polishing. Using wet and dry sandpaper for best results, sand with wet and dry 1500 grit sandpaper to remove scratches, then continue with wet and dry 3000 grit sandpaper to remove 1500 grit scratches. Restore paintwork shine by using Megia's Ultimate Compound with your dual-action car polisher or the orange foam pad from your pad kit. To remove deeper scratches in your polish, you'll need the following: a touch-up solvent preparation, Prepsol, 320. -1500 grit assorted wet sandpaper sanding pen, or other spot preparation tool, sanding block, a rectangular rubber eraser makes a good sanding block for small touch-ups, double-action car polisher or buffer kit and cordless drill fine-cut rubbing compound, such as Megia's Ultimate Compound. Lint-free microfiber cloths. The repair procedure is as follows: soak a 4 inch by 4 inch piece of 1500 sandpaper wet and dry in a bucket of water. Wash and dry the vehicle. Use Prepsol and a microfiber cloth to wipe the area to be scraped. Artist's brush, number 2, and round toothpicks, plastic, lint-free rags. Painter's masking tape, easy release type. This is a typical paint chip that has stripped paint down to the primer coat. With care, it can be repaired. If you get paint, use your Prepsol cloth to wipe off the paint, but don't wipe off the scratch. A little overlap of the varnish is desirable. You will sand off the excess. Paint chip preparation process. Once the varnish is dry, inspect it closely. If the scratch is not completely filled, repeat steps 7 to 9. In conclusion, removing deep scratches from your car may seem daunting, but with the right tools and techniques, it can be a manageable task. Remember to assess the depth of the scratch, gather the necessary materials, and take your time during the process. Whether you choose to use a DIY method or seek professional help, maintaining your car's appearance is essential for its longevity and value. With patience and care, you can restore your vehicle's finish and keep it looking its best. Thank you for watching, and happy detailing!